Okay, so when I see a problem like this and it tells me to find the zeros, I'm going to make the y equals 0. I don't see any parentheses, so I'm going to do my backward box. First guy, last guy, circle, multiply. All the ways to get 24, 1, 24, 2, 12, 3, 8, and 4, 6. So I know that I'm trying to get negative 2. So the way to get 2 is from 6 and 4. Since this is negative, the bigger guy is negative, that's positive. So 4x, negative 6x. What I like about this one is because there isn't a number in front, I can just bring it up and solve. Set it equal to 0. And I'm done. And how is that new? We'll get to it. If you look at number 2, if I tried to factor number 2, so let me rewrite this here, y equals x squared minus 3x minus 1. And I tried to do my backwards box because I put this equal to 0. X squared negative 1, negative 1. The problem is the only way to get 1 times, is 1 times 1, but it's not going to get me my 3. So doing the backward box doesn't work. If the backward box does not work, welcome to this crazy formula that they call the quadratic formula. Okay, they call it the quadratic formula because they're all quadratic equations. So in order to do the quadratic formula, you'll notice there's A's, B's, and C's. So what you need to keep in mind, and I want you to be clear, is the A is always going to be the number in front of the x squared. The B is always the number in front of the x, and the C is always the number at the end. So when I look at this problem, I'm going to identify it. There's an imaginary 1 here. So my A is 1. What's in front of the x? Negative 3. And the number at the end is negative 1. That's the first thing you're going to do is write down your A, your B, and your C. Now, actually, don't even worry about looking there. It can be confusing. Let's start. So the first thing that you see is a negative. Then you see a B. What's your B? Negative 3. Now it says plus or minus, and you got a big old square root. It has your B squared, so your B is negative 3 squared. Next comes a minus 4. Notice all of these are touching. So times whatever my A is, times my C, and then all of it is divided by 2 times what my A is. So this has a lot going on. Because it has a lot going on, this is the way I would like to approach it. I'm not saying you have to approach it this way, but for me, I think the craziest part is what's right here. So I'm going to simplify that part. I'm not even going to look at anything else. I'm going to focus here. Negative 3 squared is negative 3 times negative 3, and a negative times a negative is a positive. Now, when I'm doing this part, I multiply all of this. So don't even look at the negatives. 4 times 1 is 4 times 1 is 4. And a negative times a negative is a positive. Now 9 plus 4 is 13, and I have the square root of 13. Well, I can't take the square root of 13, so that's all I can do. Now I come over here. A negative and a negative make a positive, plus or minus. All of this turned into this over 2x equals. And that's it. Now, if you want to get bonus, what you'll do is this. 3 plus the square root of 13 over 2, 3 minus the square root of 13 over 2. So I'm going to show you how to do that in your calculator for those of you that want to get bonus. So I'm going to turn this on. Oops, turning it on. And I'm going to start with 3 plus the square root of 13. Once I do that, I have to press enter. Then I literally press divided by 2. Don't do it all at once. It has to be 2 separate things. The calculator can't handle it. $3.30. Clear it up, start again. 3 minus square root of 13, enter. Then divided by 2, x equals negative 30 cents. This is for bonus, this is good enough for me. Okay? So now we're going to try number 4. And I just say find the x-intercepts. Now to me, the easiest thing is to always do the box. So when they say the zero product property, what they're saying is do the box. So I'm going to take this, set it equal to 0, and I'm going to do my box. First guy, Last guy, multiply. 124, 2, 12, 3, 8, 4, 6. Remember, my goal is to get a positive 10. Now careful, because I know you think 4 plus 6 is going to give you the 10, but that's a negative 24. So that doesn't work. It has to be the 12 and the 2. Since this is positive, the bigger number is positive, so that's negative. So 12x, negative 2x. Since it doesn't have a number in front, I can just copy it. X plus 12, x minus 2. Set it equal to 0. X equals negative 12. X equals 2. So if I decided to factor this, this is the answer I would get because I can factor it. Remember here, I tried to factor it, but I couldn't, so I had to use this formula, okay? Here, I didn't have to use the formula because I could box it. Here, I tried to box it down here, and I couldn't box it, so I had to use this crazy formula. Here, I was able to box it. But what they're saying is, what would happen if you decided to use the quadratic formula? Let's say you decide, I don't like the box anymore. Okay. First thing I have to do is identify my A, my B, and my C. I'm going to write the formula right here so that you can see it all in one shot. And I will be nice. I'll put the formula on the board for the test, okay? So I'm going to do this. So the first thing I do is I put a negative. And then my B is 10 plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4 times A times C, all divided by 2 times A. When you look here, the part that I think is the craziest is this whole square root thing. So I'm going to bring it down, and I go square root. 10 squared means 10 times 10, which is 100. Remember, I multiply all of this. 4 times 1 is 4, times 24 is 96, and a negative times a negative is a positive. 100 plus 96 is the square root of 196. Now remember before here, you couldn't take the square root of 13, so you just left it, and then you got bonus by simplifying it in the calculator. The problem is, if you do the square root of 196 in your calculator, it tells you a whole number. It tells you 14. That means you can take the square root. So that means it's negative 10 plus or minus 14 over 2. So here's what I want you to see. In this case, I couldn't keep going because I couldn't find the square root of 13 and I was good. This was bonus. But here, I could take the square root of 196, which was 14. So I have to keep going. I have no choice. Some of you can do this in your head. Those of you that are unclear will do it in the calculator. Negative 10 plus 14, enter, divided by 2. Start again, clear, clear, clear. Negative 10 minus 14, enter, divided by 2 is negative 12. So here's what I really want you to see. When you have your test, it's just going to say find the x-intercepts. And if you can do the box, great, get the answer. If you can do the quadratic formula, great, get the answer. If you notice, both of the answers are exactly the same. But what you have to be aware of is if you can't do the box, that's as far as you're going to be able to go. But if you don't want to do the box and you can take the square root, you have to take it and keep going until you can get the answer. The only time you don't have to stop is, or you can stop, is when you can't take the square root. Okay? So this is definitely going to be a workout. What you're going to be doing here is this. You're going to try this by factoring the quadratic formula. Factoring, quadratic formula, factoring, quadratic formula. If you can't factor it, then you will write, I cannot factor, and boom, you have to do the quadratic formula. Okay? Actually, you know what? Let me do one of these for you. So I'll do number 6. So I'm going to try the box. X squared, negative 20. Negative 20 is 5, 4, 210, and 120. I'm trying to get 2. If you notice, I can't get 2. So I can't factor. I have to do the quadratic formula. Okay, I'm going to write down the quadratic formula right here. Negative b, 2, plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c, all divided by 2 times a. And that's a 2, by the way. Sorry about that. Remember, the craziest thing for me was this part. So the square root of 4, do all of this. 4 times 1 is 4, times 20 is 80, and a negative make a positive. Square root of 84. Now some of us go, I don't know if I can take the square root. Well, a little hint, if you couldn't factor, you're not going to be able to square root it, but I'll just show you. If you do the square root of 84, it's a decimal. So you leave it. If you can't do it, you leave it, and then bring this, -2 plus or minus the square root of 84 over 2, x equals, if you give me this, I'm a happy girl. If you want to get bonus, you're going to go -2 plus the square root of 84 over 2, -2 minus the square root of 84 over 2, and you're going to pick up your calculator. Let me show you. -2 plus the square root of 84, enter, then divided by 2. So it's $3.58. And then clear, -2 minus the square root of 84, divided by 2. X equals -558. Okay? So what I need you to do right now is you're going to do this problem, factoring quadratic formula. You're going to do this problem, factoring quadratic formula. And then you'll do the same thing here, 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 here. Okay? Now I might have to go over one of these. Okay? I think I need to go over actually this one. No, actually I think we're good. Okay? I will make sure that all the answers are posted so that you're good to go.